As we're in the thick of the summer season, people are still looking to have a little bit of an adventure during this crisis of ours with COVID-19. And one person that's helping them do that is our first guest today, David Fishman. He is the president of the Cadillac Travel Group based out of Royal Oak, and he joins us now on the Oakland County Megacast. David, thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Tyler. It's a pleasure.
Appreciate having you on. You've been serving the community here and serving the state here for about 38 years with the Cadillac Travel Group. Can you tell us a little bit about the services that you provide to people that are looking to find those great experiences here in the state of Michigan?
Yeah, what's great is that we're a full service travel provider. We can take care of any and all of your travel needs, whether it just be airline tickets, hotels, car rentals, cruises, tours, you name it, we can take care of it. We can even get you tested to make sure that you can go to where you want to go and make sure that you're safe. And we have all the information of what's open and what's not. So it's a great resource. We're a tremendous resource and help and for creating peace of mind right now with their travel needs.
And with what's going on right now, especially with the increased spread of the Delta variant of COVID-19, as people are looking to make those plans, are you noticing that people are maybe a little bit more hesitant now than they were in the past few weeks or the past month or so to seek out those adventures here in the state of Michigan and try to put together their travel plans? Are they more hesitant now, or are people still just as excited now as they were before to travel throughout our state?
Well, the reality is that people have been, the number one thing people want to do during COVID is travel because they couldn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So the demand is just tremendous. They're actually calling it revenge travel. They're having revenge for 2020. That being said, every time that something new comes up in the COVID arena, in this case, the Delta variant, there does create additional hesitance of getting out and going places. In a general sense, that's where it's really important that if you're going to go someplace that you really do your homework, that you know what the rules are. Why the Delta variant is happening, meanwhile, the UK is opening up tomorrow, and in 2 weeks, Canada is opening up. So as these things are happening in certain areas, other areas are becoming safer. So it's really just finding your comfort zone in where you're going to go and what's going to happen. And even in Michigan, even though it's gone up a little bit more, we're still doing a lot better than a number of the southern states, for example. So staying in Michigan creates a better comfort than going south right now, perhaps. So
we're joined by David Fishman. He's the president of the Cadillac Travel Group based out of Royal Oak. And David, I'm going to take a step back here just for a brief moment and play a little bit of devil's advocate as I'm going into this question. Over past several years and in our modern days, with all the access we have to technology and to information, to be able to go and research different places that we can go and different events we can go to, different activities we can do in one place or another, to bargain and look around and shop around for plane tickets or train tickets or so on and so forth. In today's age, how can a travel agent, such as one at the Cadillac Travel Group, be helpful to people as they're planning these vacations, especially right now with all of the variables that are at play due to COVID-19?
Well, the irony is we're even more important than we've ever been because of those the constant changes. This whole time has taught us that wait 5 minutes, it changes. And I always say, like, the airline fares are like the weather in Michigan. Wait 5 minutes, they'll change. But in this case, it's about what you can and cannot do. So it's even more important to, have someone that has the information and is constantly reviewing it to make sure it's safe for you to go. Have someone that's going to be there for you to make sure that you are protected in regards to booking a trip with your insurances and what the rules of cancellation are or changes. And having an advocate while you're traveling. So if there's something going on or you don't know what's going on, there's someone to reach out to. During this period of time right now in particular, because of what went on with many of the major travel vendors like Delta Airlines, for example, in our area, or some of the other major players, you can't get through to them. There's a 2 to 3 or 4 hour wait, and the changes are constantly happening. So to have that advocate, to have someone that has we have over 400 years of travel destination knowledge in your office is invaluable to give you that peace of mind now more than ever before.
We're joined by David Fishman, the president of Cadillac Travel Group, here on the Oakland County MegaCast, talking about traveling throughout the state of Michigan and all the variables that are at play right now, and how services such as what he provides and his team provides at Cadillac Travel Group are helping Michigan travelers and people that are coming into the state as well as they're planning their trips to the Great Lakes state. And you talk about protections and travel insurances. And earlier on in the pandemic, my co-host Ronnie Dahl has told me a story many times about her trying to go to Italy last year just before the pandemic, and of course that trip got canceled, and she was going through the whole rigmarole of trying to get her trip refunded, her plane ticket refunded, and that was in itself a whole different hassle than what was to be expected. So in today's traveling scenario, how more important now than ever is travel insurance? And when people are purchasing that travel insurance, what protections can they expect to have provided to them, or are there varying lengths of where that can go?
Well, and then you hit the nail on the head, Tyler. It's so important more than ever to know what you're getting in regards to when you book something, what the cancellations are, and then when you get the insurances, what the policy actually covers. Understanding that is hugely important in working with the right travel insurance providers to make sure you are going to be protected. Like some didn't cover COVID, and some are covering COVID, and some cover COVID if you get it when you travel, but they don't cover COVID if you get it before you travel. So there's so many pardon the expression, but variants in your travel insurance. So you want to make sure that you're working with a professional that can guide you and make sure you have the proper coverages before you go. And there's another piece. It's like there's insurances that you can cancel for any reason. So even if you don't have a medical reason or don't have COVID, you can cancel. A lot of people don't know about that. And many of the travel insurances do not provide that type of coverage. So you have to know about what you can get and what you can't get. And then, of course, and then there's, the pricing's all over the board. And then there's, and also you have to make sure you know who you're working with. If you're working with a travel insurance company that is legitimate. I always say, I am a French model because it says so online. So you can tell anyone you want information online. It doesn't mean that that you're dealing with a legitimate situation. And that's why it's more important to have a guide and someone helping you right now, in particular with travel insurance as well.
David Fishman joining us on the Oakland County MegaCast. He is the president of Cadillac Travel Group, which is based out of Royal Oak, with us today on the program throughout the Oakland County area and throughout the state of Michigan on the My Michigan TV or My app. And as you're navigating the insurance situation, how are travel agents helpful to their clients in navigating that situation where the client does need to exercise their travel insurance? Because as you said earlier on, there are those delays. You are jumping through hoops. You are trying to navigate the situation. Going at it alone can be a hassle, but it's got to be a hassle overall. What more can a legitimate travel agent do to really help move that situation along and, if need be, get the customer refunded or get them in a different situation where they can still get what they're seeking, maybe just in a different form?
Well, and that's about relationships. So 38 years of relationships with the travel vendors has created the ability to get a hold of people when people can't, to get a hold of the right people, to get answers or get problems solved. And for example, last week, I went to lunch on Friday with my travel insurance rep who came in town, and we were able to go out and talk about what's going on and what's new moving forward, because they have some new products that they have that will be beneficial to people. And so they have that one phone call to say, hey, I'm having a problem getting this, claim taken care of. Can you look into this? Can you move forward? And I've also have met the president of the company and the CEO. Like, I have a relationship with the CEO of Royal Caribbean, which I just went on a cruise, so I can inform people about what cruising is going to be like in the protocol. So I was invited to have that opportunity to share that information. So that's about relationships will help us take care of those situations a lot quicker, a lot easier than an individual can do it.
You mentioned earlier, too, David, that you want to make sure that you're working with a travel agent that is a legitimate travel agent. As customers are looking to plan their trips with a travel agent, what should they be looking for, and how do they know that the agent that they're working for is a legitimate travel agent, as you said?
Well, I think one of my favorite things is if you can't reach out and touch them, then don't do business with them. Is one of my personal things. It's if you can't walk in someone's door, and nowadays it is more virtual, but look at their history and and it's not always looking at reviews necessarily, because anyone can write a review about anything. I could have 20 people write a review. It doesn't mean that they even done business with me. I think it's more about either finding people that have done business with them, or actually walking in their door, or being able to know that it's local, that it's a state of Michigan, that you're not dealing with someone that's in some other country or doesn't even exist. Or we always hear the horror stories of the spring breakers that go, or group that goes away, and they get there and they don't have anything, and it's a PO box. Have an address. That look for an address. I think that's important as well. So little things that make a difference is making sure that you can find. I really think the most important is actually knowing either a word of mouth from someone that you trust, and or knowing that you can walk in their door, just actually physically meet them face to face.
We're joined by David Fishman on the Oakland County MegaCast. He is the president of the Cadillac Travel Group based out of Royal Oak, talking to us about all the little things we need to know as we're planning our trips this summer, both here in the state of Michigan, throughout the U.S., and for those of us that are traveling internationally as well. And so let's get into more of the nitty-gritty with different kinds of travel. Let's start with air travel. Right now, with what's going on throughout the U.S., you want to be prepared when you're going into any sort of a travel situation, especially if you're flying or if you're going, whether it be domestically or internationally. Right now, if travelers are going to be traveling out of the state of Michigan, whether it be somewhere in the U.S. or internationally, what should they be doing differently than before to prepare themselves for those trips?
Well, first of all, you must find out what the rules are in regards to where you're going to. So you might need to have a test to go there. Even like when you were going to Hawaii, even in the States, you needed to have a test. And you need to know which test and where you can get the test. So, for example, once again, Hawaii, you had to go to a CVS or Walgreens that has specifically had a relationship with Hawaii to do the test. If you went to just any testing center, you wouldn't be able to get in. So that's really important to know what you need to do to go to that place and to fly there. Then you have to know what the rules are coming back home. And if you leave the country, according to CDC, you must have a test that you must get within 72 hours, a negative test to come back into the country. So then you want to make sure that when you're flying there, that you know where you can get the test to where you're going to. Now, the good news, many of the hotels and many places are making it very available to people to get the test so they can make sure they can come back home. So they're making that easy. Then the last thing you need to know is what are going to be the rules of actually flying on that airline. And right now, almost all the airlines have to have a mask. It's if you are not willing to wear a mask, you will not be able to fly on that airline. And understanding what the airlines are doing to make you feel better in regards to they're fogging the planes, they're wiping down the planes, and the air on the planes is recirculated from the outside, not within the plane. Actually, probably one of the safest places to be in a gathering of a lot of people is on an airplane than any place else you could be on an indoor gathering. So when you understand all those pieces, that makes it really comfortable for you to get on an airplane.
We're joined by David Fishman, the president of Cadillac Travel Group based out of Royal Oak, on the Oakland County MegaCast today. And David, Delta Airlines is now adding their middle seat back to their flights. How is that going to impact how people are going to need to be planning their travel, particularly with Delta Airlines? And is there anything additionally that people need to be any steps that people need to be taking additionally in order to prepare for their flights with Delta, which is one of our more common airlines domestically?
Oh yeah, they have more than 80% of the lift out of metropolitan Detroit area, out of Michigan. That being said, prior to, for the last 6 months at least, if not longer, the other major carriers, United and American, for example, were already filling up that middle seat. The fact that that seat wasn't filled up with Delta was really trying to create a more of a comfort zone for people, but in a general sense, it didn't make a big difference. in regards to the proper protocols to make sure that you are safe on that airplane. And they are following those protocols to make sure that you are going to be safe with flying with them. So even if there's someone sitting next to you, you are not going to have a problem if you wear your mask and make sure that you do the right things while you're flying on an airplane. And they're doing a lot of the right things for you.
What about ticket prices for airlines? Obviously, with just the basics of supply and demand, as less people are flying throughout the pandemic, and there are more seats available, and Delta still needs to ultimately make their best efforts for their bottom line, you would expect those prices to go up. As things are starting to reopen, as more people are going out to travel, and as they're having more seats be available on these planes, can consumers expect for the prices of their flights to drop, or should they expect them to maybe rise as the demand for traveling by air travel goes up?
Well, it'll definitely, air travel has always been based on, the cost of it's always been based on demand and availability. So in this case, a lot of flights were canceled during COVID, and they've been adding them on very slowly to make sure they're not having planes flying empty. So that being said, the pricing has continued to go up, actually pretty dramatically to some destinations as we move forward. I mean, I literally just flew to Florida on Friday, and the round trip ticket that I was trying to buy a week ahead of time was $1,200 round trip to Miami. That's normally a $400, $500 ticket max, usually, maybe up to $800, but $1,200. So if depending on how many seats are sold and how many seats are added back into inventory will cause the rates to go up or down. In this case, right now they're going up, and they've been going up dramatically, especially if you haven't planned for Thanksgiving, Christmas, spring break, midwinter break. If you're not planning that already, expect to have a little sticker shock and when you purchase your airline tickets.
So as people are preparing for the holiday season and for spring break next year, when should they be getting into that mode of planning for that trip and starting to purchase their airline tickets, look for hotels and other amenities throughout their trip? Because that is a busy season, and presumably by then, hopefully, we're even further along getting ourselves out of this pandemic.
Well, you need to plan yesterday in this case. You need to plan as far ahead as possible. Airline tickets, the scheduling comes out 330 days ahead of time. In general, in most markets. So as soon as you can plan, you like to try and plan in particular the air. Hotels as well, if you grab your hotel space at a time, they're all kind of inventory controlled. And with the airlines, it's actually computer inventory controlled. So once they sell a certain block of seats, the seats are going to go up in price. So the sooner you can grab it, the better. That's why another reason to take insurance on some things like airline tickets that are non-refundable. Hotels will give you greater flexibility, sometimes with tours and cruises also. So the sooner you can plan, the better, and a greater flexibility you have, greater chance you have of saving money on your travel.
David Fishman with us on the Oakland County Megacast. He's the president of Cadillac Travel Group, based out of Royal Oak, Michigan. And people aren't just traveling by air; they're also going domestically in the state of Michigan. They're traveling from place to place. Many of our many great locations here throughout the state of Michigan to travel throughout the summer, or they are traveling domestically to another state and maybe not bringing their personal vehicle with them. But right now, it can be really tough to get a rental car. How should people be preparing if they're going to an area without their own personal vehicle to make sure that they will have one available for them and be able to travel efficiently in their location?
Well, that's a great point. What happened during COVID is many of the car rental companies dumped off inventory because of a non-rented car. A car sitting there doesn't make money. So they dumped it off. And of course, with chip shortages and not knowing how quickly things would ramp up, they weren't adding to that inventory very quickly. They weren't buying new fleets. So because of that, there was an actual shortage and continues to be a shortage in a number of markets. That being said, once again, plan ahead, be flexible, and perhaps, the ultimate creativity, I actually had a client down in Orlando, couldn't get a rent-a-car, and got down there and saw that they Ubered to the hotel, and as they were driving by, they saw U-Haul, $19.95 a day. They went to the U-Haul place and they drove a U-Haul for a week down in Orlando. Very creative, Sometimes you have to do that, or you have to Uber or find other modes of transportation, or you're going to be paying also a premium if there's available car rentals in that area.
David Fishman with us. He is the president of Cadillac Travel Group, located out of Royal Oak, Michigan, joining us today on the MegaCast. David, just another minute or so with you before we have to say goodbye today. Anything else that's important for our audience to know as they're planning their travels, and how can they get in contact with you and with Cadillac Travel Group?
Well, as I know I'm harped on it, make sure that you know who you're dealing with. Make sure that you protect yourself and know what the rules are going to be, where you're going. Make sure you have good insurance and know what the rules are with the insurance. Be flexible. That will save you money. Plan ahead. That will save you money. And at the end of the day, work with a travel professional, because there's the most sites on the internet are travel sites, and you don't know exactly who you're dealing with all the time. So make sure you're working with someone that you know, that we're referred to, that can take care of you and protect you. You can reach Cadillac Travel at 248-358-5330 or 800-369-TRIP. You can go to www.cadillactravel.com or david@cadillactravel.com, and you can reach out and we'll take care of you.
David, great advice. Thank you very much for joining us on today's edition of the MegaCast.
Thank you, Tyler. Have a great day.